Hi, hello, welcome to the Lossless Scaling LSFG 3.0 major update video. This video focuses on reviewing what is new in the latest update. It is not a deep dive of all the features in LS. If you wanted to know all the nits and bits and the many miscellaneous settings of the software, you can go to my last video. That has, by the way, performed incredibly well, so thank you so much for that, guys. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the review. Alright, I know that I just said that this video is only focused on reviewing what is new in the latest update, but honestly, it doesn't take a lot of time to give you guys a refresher on how to use the software. If you want to skip this part, check the timestamp in the description. Okay, so first, what you want to do is open up the software, obviously, and then go to settings and set the shortcut keys that you can easily remember, as you will use this to universally apply LS to your game. In my case, I use Ctrl, Alt, and S. Second, configure the settings in LS. If you are trying out the new LSFG 3.0, then set the frame generation tab to LSFG 3.0. And in mode, there is X2, X3, and X4, which is the multiplier of the frame gen. I will use X2 in this case. And in the resolution scale, don't be afraid to tweak it as you test LS in your system, as this can affect performance significantly without giving noticeable visual impact. I like to set them to 70% as the sweet spot between quality and performance. Then scroll down, and I recommend you to enable the draw FPS options to know later on whether LSFG has been applied correctly to your game or not. And scroll down again, and in Capture API, set it to DXGI if you are using Windows version below Windows 11 24H2, and try WGC if you are using Windows 11 24H2. Why? Because people in the community have said that WGC has smaller latency in comparison to DXGI in 24H2. In fact, it's not community have said, it have been tested that WGC has smaller latency if you're using Windows 11 24H2. Unfortunately, my Windows version is 23H2, so I cannot confirm it myself, and I will set it to DXGI. Third, assuming that you're going to use LS for frame gen, cap your game frame rate to a value that can remain stable about 90% of the time. I highly recommend you use RTSS to cap it, as it results in stable frame time, especially in comparison to GPU driver cap or in-game FPS cap. I'm not going to dive into how to use the software here, so for a quick RTSS guide, check my last video and the included timestamp for it, or other sources on the internet. Alternatively, if you're still not sold on RTSS, you can always set the FPS cap using your GPU driver or in-game FPS cap. Now, LS recommends setting the frame rate to at least 30, since anything lower may result in janky visuals. Though someone in a Discord channel has tested using it with 8 FPS, and it was interesting. Fourth, with lossless scaling still running in the background, open up your game and set it to borderless or windowed mode, as LS doesn't work well with exclusive full screen. And after that, use your shortcut key, and if you see the overlay like this, congratulations, you have successfully applied lossless scaling. Okay, so the first and the biggest addition from the new update that we are going to review is LSFG 3.0. THS, the dev of LS, has stated many things for LSFG 3.0, including better quality, improved latency, all while being less demanding than LSFG 2.3. What better way to verify these claims than by testing them ourselves? In terms of visual quality, one of the most noticeable differences between 3.0 and 2.3 is the motion clarity, as you can see from the warping around the character's head. 3.0 is able to run with minimal warping really well, even at a base FPS of 30. In contrast, 2.3 makes it look like the character is getting a constant haircut that can absolutely ruin your immersion. Additionally, there is a clear improvement in how 3.0 handles artifacts at the border of the screen. For me, 3.0 makes 30 FPS a completely enjoyable FPS to run with LSFG, whereas in 2.3, I needed at least 40 FPS before applying LSFG for an ideal experience. Here is a comparison run of the Borderlands 3 benchmark between base 30 FPS, LSFG 3.0 and 2.3. LSFG 3.0 also have a brand new exclusive feature for it, which is an unlocked frame generation multiplier that goes all the way up to times 20. You can access this by going to the frame generation tab, pick LSFG 3.0, and in the mode settings, choose custom. It is absolutely over the top, honestly, going to times 20. It is excessive, I think. It's almost like THS, the developer of lossless scaling, saw Nvidia coming in with multi-frame generation times 4 and just said, not today, delivering a kung fu kick straight to their face. I feel like this feature is more about future-proofing. You know, high-end monitors today already push crazy refresh rate like 500Hz, and if we someday ever hit 1000Hz and more, lossless scaling would still be up for the task. And obviously, I won't be testing every multiplier from times 2 to times 20. That would take an unholy amount of time. Instead, I will just test times 20. Of course, you won't be able to see it exactly as I do in my screen, since YouTube videos are capped at around 60 FPS. But here is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered 2 running at around 540 FPS. I don't know why it doesn't reach 1200 FPS, as 60 FPS times 20 is supposedly 1200 FPS. Probably a CPU bottleneck on my end, but who needs that much FPS anyway? Enjoy. Unfortunately, testing latency accurately requires a physical tool called OSLTT that I don't have access to. Worry not, the developer's claim of reduced latency is backed by tests conducted with this very tool, courtesy of Captain Tombstone. As you can see, LSFG 3.0 have improved latency in comparison to LSFG 2.3. Now, if that graph isn't enough for you and you would rather hear about my gut feeling after testing LSFG 3.0 and 2.3, I can confidently say yes, LSFG 3.0 does feel like it has reduced latency compared to 2.3. I'm not sure why you would trust my gut, over a proper testing graph, but hey, you do you. While LSFG 2.3 got their performance version that is quite light to run, I don't think LSFG 3.0 needs one, as the model is already efficient and easy to run without requiring a separate performance variant. Just don't be afraid to tweak the resolution scale slider, as really there isn't that much difference in quality between 100% and even 25%, but a huge difference in GPU usage. Actually not that huge, but it's quite significant, as you can see from these comparisons. Now, we need to talk about this, as there is a lot of misconception that resolution scale the image of the game itself. No, it doesn't. Your game still runs at whatever resolution you are setting it on. Take a look at the tooltip. Think of resolution scale as a trade-off to make frame generation run faster. Instead of analyzing every tiny detail in motion in full resolution, LSFG first captures the frame, then shrinks the image to process motion more efficiently. You, as a user, do not see this shrinked image. Once LSFG analyzes motion in the lower resolution version, it applies that motion data to the original full resolution frames, and that is the generated frames that you see. It doesn't stretch or upscale anything. The generated frames will always end up at the same resolution as the original. The resolution scale only affects how precisely motion is tracked, not the output resolution of your game itself. Lowering the resolution scale makes frame generation smoother, faster, lighter to run. However, the model would have smaller canvas to analyze, and with that, motion tracking becomes less precise, which can cause artifacts like jittery UI elements or missing details in small or fast-moving objects, though really it's not that noticeable. So no, going 25% doesn't turn your Cyberpunk into Terraria. But keep in mind that my explanation there is a rough and simplified one. If you wanted to see the explanation from the developer himself, here it is. Pause the video if you want to read it. If not, or if you're done, here is a comparison of 3.0, 2.3 and 2.3 performance, all using 70% resolution scale slider, which I found to be the sweet spot. With major updates such as these, it is not all sunshine and rainbows. While LSFG 3.0 introduces significant improvements in quality and performance, the new model still struggles in certain scenarios, specifically striped patterns like those showcased by Atlanexo, and at Balbaraski
Balbaraski czarodziej.
in the LS Discord community, where it produces very noticeable warping and artifacts. In conclusion, LSFG 3.0 is a fantastic addition to the software, offering an overall improvement over the 2.3 model, making lossless scaling ever closer to bringing a great universal frame-gen option to the masses that, unfortunately, at least in my opinion, is becoming quite a necessity to enjoy AAA games without needing to invest in a high-end system, as game developers grow increasingly reliant on upscaling algorithms like DLSS or FSR as their way of quote-unquote optimizing games rather than actually optimizing them. Aside from LSFG 3.0, this update also introduces a new beta branch on Steam, offering a shiny new UI. Here is a look at the old one, and here is the new one. Getting it is simple. Just go to your Steam library, right click on lossless scaling, select properties, then go to betas. In the beta participation section, choose beta, and the update should be downloaded and applied automatically. Actually no, you need to press the button. Oh, never mind, yeah, it's automatic. In the new UI, you will get all the necessary functions that you need to utilize the software, just like the old ones, from frame generation, scaling, rendering, capture API, cursor settings, GPU and display, crop input, and behavior. The profile tab is also still located on the left side, where you can add new profiles using the plus tab in the bottom here, and also set its titles, filters if you want to make profiles for specific application, and the auto scale toggles if you want the profile to automatically be applied to the specified application as soon as it is launched or with a bit of a delay. I do have a complaint about this specific menu though, including the old one. I really think the phrase auto scale here should be changed to something like auto detect or auto apply. This is because lossless scaling isn't just about scaling anymore. Most users are now using it for frame generation, which has become the standout features, I think. As a result, auto scale may be a bit misleading. But moving on, in the bottom left you will find the manual and settings tab. The manual have these descriptions and also the portal to visit the Steam community page or the Discord server. And the settings tab lets you configure hotkeys, system-related options like running the software as administrator and more, and you can also adjust the style settings where you can choose from theme like system, like, oh my god, and oh god, this is so bright actually, and dark, and go back to system. What's the difference, right, from dark to system? Well, in system, the program's color button will follow the accent colors set in your Windows settings. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So in my last video, I confidently said that you should use your dedicated GPU. Always. My god, how wrong am I? Forgive me for that heresy, brother, because lossless scaling actually works at its absolute peak efficiency if you're using dual GPU setups. And the best part, you don't even need stacks of dedicated GPU like the mining era. No, you're not Steve. If you have a setup like me, where your CPU have integrated graphics, you can use that for the frame generation and scaling, which means no additional load for your dedicated GPU. Just set that GPU to your integrated graphics and make sure that the monitor or the display that you're outputting it is the one that is connected to the integrated graphics. So in my case, it's my laptop screen, and it's quite literally 3 FPS. Look at this comparison, especially the RTX 3060 usage. beautiful. And that is it. Sure, this update technically adds just 2 new features, LSFG 3.0 and the new UI, but for me, LSFG 3.0 alone is more than enough reason to make a video, as it brings such a significant improvement to an already fantastic piece of software. Now, if you still have issues running the software, which I am aware many of you still are, which is unfortunate, but due to the many reasons it can happen and the many different computer setups that you guys have, I highly recommend checking out the Discord server for help on your particular issues and setup. I mean, come on, are you guys not interested on meeting the guy who tests lossless scaling at 8 FPS? That guy's a professional. Feel free to ask me here in the comment sections, but unfortunately, I am but a single man with limited knowledge. So if I respond to your question regarding lossless scaling issues, that means I may know the solution to your problem. If not, then I probably don't, and I'm sorry, and you should consult the Steam community page or the Discord. Just make sure to check out the docs and info channels before asking for help in the server. They contain many guides that might already answer your question about the software. That is all from me. Thank you for watching and take care everyone.